One of those stories that I think we have heard so many times, it can be hard to hear it fresh. And so I am going to attempt to do just that. I sat with this story this week and tried to actually hear it. Mary was having an entirely ordinary day when all of the sudden into her ordinary day, a glorious messenger from God showed up. This majestic being was mostly shine and glory, and Mary could almost not see the angel. They were so bright. It was the angel Gabriel, and he screamed at the top of his not quite lungs, "Rejoice!" And Mary was very startled. "Rejoice," he screamed again, "rejoice, you grace-filled one, God is with you." This made no sense to Mary, and she did not know what was going on. Gabriel, realizing that they may have overdone it just a bit, calmed down. "Sorry," said the angel. "Please don't be afraid. It is just that God is so delighted by you, and I personally am beside myself to meet you. You are going to get pregnant, and you are going to have a son, and his name is going to be Jesus, and we are all so excited in heaven. He is going to be amazing, like really, really wonderful. He will be called the child of heaven and the child of love. He will inherit all the power and glory and promise of his ancestors. His kingdom will be everything that ever was and everything that ever is for all time, and there will be no end to it. He will heal the world's broken heart." "Wow," said Mary, "that sounds amazing. I didn't think I would be getting pregnant just yet because Joseph and I aren't really..." "Oh, don't worry about that," said Gabriel, waving a hand or something like one. "God doesn't need sperm to make miracles. Your own body, inspired by the Holy Spirit, is more than enough for love to move in this world. You will be wrapped completely in the same love that spoke all things into being. And God will say, 'Let there be a baby.' And this baby will be the child of the love that formed the world." "Wow," said Mary again, and sat there. The angel kept looking at her with an expectant face, and Mary seemed to feel that he was waiting for something. "What is it?" said Mary. "It's a question," said Gabriel. "God is asking you." "Oh," said Mary. "Well, I would love to cooperate with God. I would love to serve love with my life. Let's do this." And Gabriel beamed, literally. "Oh," said the angel, "I almost forgot. Your relative Elizabeth, the old one, she is also pregnant. And even though she is like very old, she is 6 months along already. There are just so many miracles." Gabriel was starting to get excited again. "Sorry," they said. "It is just that nothing is impossible with God's love. Nothing is impossible in the presence of love." And Gabriel grabbed her face and kissed her and left. Mary stood there, amazed, unconsciously rubbing her still flat stomach. And then she shook herself and packed a bag to go stay with Elizabeth, who would probably need some help. Plus, Mary loved Elizabeth. Elizabeth was loud and funny. She lived up in the hills with her husband, Zachariah. When Mary got there, she called out to Elizabeth, who came around the corner, belly forward, walking that waddling, very pregnant walk. Elizabeth cried out and put a hand to her belly. "He jumped so hard just now when he heard your voice," she said. "Come, sit down and let's visit." Zachariah came in and brought them both some tea, but he didn't say anything. Mary and Elizabeth sat and talked all afternoon. Elizabeth listened to every word of Mary's story about the angel. Mary told her that she was feeling nervous and overwhelmed. "What if I am not enough?" said Mary. "How can I possibly be part of God's plan for the healing of this world? I would have thought that God would have wanted someone fancier. Who am I to be the mother of love?" Elizabeth listened and hummed and nodded at all the right places. And Elizabeth told Mary her own story about Zechariah's encounter with an angel, probably the same one. Zechariah had asked similar questions to Mary's, but the angel had seemed less patient with him and made him mute for at least the past 6 months. Elizabeth leaned over to Mary and whispered, "So many blessings." And then Elizabeth stood up, which was not so easy for her these days, and looked deeply into Mary's face. Looking serious, she said, "Blessing on you, sweet Mary. God can do anything, and God is choosing you. God says you are enough, so you must be enough. In the light of love, who are any of us? And anyway, I'm not so sure that God does go in for fancy." And Elizabeth laid her hands on Mary's head. "Blessing on you and blessing on your sweet baby. I am so grateful that I got the chance to be this close to the child of love. You have blessed me too. Thank you. Thank you for coming. This baby very well may change everything." And so Mary stayed with Elizabeth and Zechariah for 3 months, helping out where she could and napping when she needed to. She and Elizabeth had a wonderful time, and Zechariah was a good host. He took good care of the pregnant ladies and communicated mostly by writing them notes. The end.